We have all heard the traditional Thanksgiving story of the colonists and the famous Pocahontas. Disney has done the most to tell the story of Pocahontas and has portrayed her as a beautiful, free-spirited, warrior-type woman who could not be told what to do. Disney catapulted the idea of Pocahontas and John Smith having a romantic relationship. The thing is, none of what is portrayed is true. But hey, it's Disney. The truth is that the telling of this life is nothing like in the movies or what we learn in the classroom. It is understood that this story, along with others, are usually changed so that young students won't be traumatized and to spread how great the colonists were that invaded this country. Pocahontas' life was actually tragic and short-lived. When Pocahontas was born, her mother died during childbirth. Her mother was the one named Pocahontas. The young child was actually named Matoaka. Her father soon became chief of the tribe and married a few women from other tribes, so Matoaka had many siblings. She looked so much like her mother, though, so it was her father only that called her Pocahontas, and she was also his favorite. Fast forward some years and John Smith shows up. The story we are told is that John and Matoaka met and fell in love with each other. This did not happen. First of all, John was 27 years old and Matoaka was only 10. They didn't even meet each other. Secondly, she was the daughter of a chief and a child, so she was closely watched 24 hours a day. When John arrived, all he wanted to do was explore and conquer the new land. He started to raid the native villages. He gained a bad reputation and the natives finally had enough, so they captured and imprisoned him. He was finally released, and over time, Matoaka's father, the chief, grew to like John and decided to make him a werewance, which is recognized by the natives as the leader of a colonist colony. This ceremony takes 4 days to complete. The story usually told is that Matoaka saves the life of John Smith. This does not make sense, because Matoaka is still a child during this time and would not even been allowed to attend the event. They also would not have tried to kill someone they are bestowing an honor to, so there would be no reason or opportunity for Matoaka to throw herself upon John to save him. We are told that Matoaka defied her father, the chief, by taking food to the people of Jamestown. This is not true. Matoaka was still a child and closely watched. Jamestown was over 12 miles away. As a child, she would not have the strength to bring food to a whole village. At about this time, the colonists were growing angry with John Smith. He was not doing a good job as a werewance and was back up to his old actions of cruelty to the natives and misusing his position. Everyone hated him, even the chief. There was talk of a secret plot to have John killed. Now, whether that is true or not, we don't know, but in later years, John had written it was Matoaka that warned him of this plot. Again, Matoaka was just a child. Time went on, and the colonists were cruel to the natives, taking advantage of them, attacking the women and young girls in not so favorable ways. Meanwhile, Matoaka came of age. There was a great ceremony, and at this time, Matoaka chose the name Pocahontas in honor of her mother. Also at this time, she married the brother of another chief. She was 14 years old. His name was Kokom, and they had a child. After the birth of Pocahontas' child, a secret plot was being planned to kidnap Pocahontas. Captain Samuel Argall searched and found Pocahontas. He demanded the village give her up, or there would be consequences. Pocahontas' husband was gone, so the chief gave her up, but was forced by the captain to leave her child behind. They took her and held her captive on a ship that was being prepared to go back to England. Kokom returned to the village to find his wife had been kidnapped. At this point, the colonists killed him. The captain gave the chief a copper pot and later claimed it was a trade for Pocahontas. While trapped on board ship, Pocahontas had been repeatedly violated and ended up pregnant. She gave birth to a son and named him Thomas. A man by the name of John Rolfe married Pocahontas and took her son as his own, but it was not for love, it was for greed. John was into the tobacco trade, but he was not a success. He married her to create a strong bond between himself and the natives, for he did not know how to cure the tobacco. The curing was left to the natives, for it was a secret. But, with Pocahontas being the chief's daughter, they gave him the secret and he became a huge success. Before returning to England, Pocahontas had been convinced by others that her father no longer loved her because he never came to rescue her. This, of course, was furthest from the truth. It was one of his deepest regrets. She then converted to Christianity and changed her name to Rebecca. She returned with John Rolfe and her son Thomas to England. In England, Rebecca was presented to the king, and she made relations between the natives that were there and at home better with the colonists than those of England. She had fulfilled her duty that they had set out for her. She was no longer viable. So when Rolfe and the captain were planning the trip back to the colony, Rebecca joined them for dinner. Later that night, she got sick and died. She was just under 21 years old. It is believed she was poisoned by John Rolfe and the captain. Instead of taking Rebecca home to be with her family, she was buried in England. The exact spot is not really known, but she was buried at St. George's Church. With further and extensive research, the sex and name of the child she left behind was a little girl by the name of Keoki. And for those that remember the famous Vegas favorite, Wayne Newton is one of her direct descendants. There you have it, a brief but true account of the Pocahontas story. In a way, Disney and all other accounts did have it right in the fact that Pocahontas was a princess, and she was a beacon of peace, and she will always be remembered.